EU is now considering a trade bazooka as an answer to the tariff threats of the United States. This is an escalation of the ongoing situation at Greenland, and obviously, I want to break down the economic ramifications of this trade bazooka, what it's all about, and also how it might affect the people of the United States of America. So this is the type of products that the trade bazooka might hit if you are a consumer in the United States. Obviously, EU has a lot of pharmaceuticals, luxury goods, cars, energy, etc. They are quite innovative, but I don't think tariffs on products will be the biggest thing. But before I continue, I will show you a clip here from MS Now about some experts that are quite worried about the consumers in the United States of America. I think this newspaper is a bit democratic leaning, so think about it when you analyze, because I want to be quite neutral in my way of approaching these type of questions through an economic lens. But anyway, I think they do cover this specific topic, and hence why I want to show you some.
Joining us now, Henrietta Trace, co-founder and director of economic policy at Veda Partners, and former Republican Congressman of Pennsylvania, Charlie Dent. So, Henrietta, talk about the direct impact of Trump's tariffs and the potential retaliatory tariffs from the EU. What could it mean for everyday Americans?
Yeah, it's a critical question right now. I'll tell you what has already happened. We were supposed to see the EU drop tariff rates on industrial exports to 0% this week. They called off that vote in the wake of the president challenging them and saying he's going to annex Greenland. So we've already lost a situation where free trade was going to start to flow again. Now going forward, they're talking about restricting access, restricting intellectual property protections. I mean, $100 billion worth of trade with the United States that they're already impacting and threatening.
And that is a very important part of this trade bazooka, restricting access for American companies to intellectual property, maybe doing trade in the EU. A lot of when you enter EU, obviously you need that legal approval to make businesses here, and this is just a start. And I think this ACI tool that is called could provide a base for a lot of things, a lot of just not tariffs and small legal tweaks. They could actually push out a lot of businesses from EU that we have allowed American companies to be here. Obviously, a lot of us who lives in Europe, we want American companies here because they provide great services to good prices. So this is not just something that is good for EU, or nor it's good for the United States. It's better if we have it as we do. But obviously the situation is escalating, and this is how the leaders of EU might answer everything that is going on in regarding the situation in Greenland and the tariff threats that's out there.
The tariff. And what's more, there's an app that you can download in the EU to tell you if a product is made in America. And now Europeans are actively walking around trying not to buy American goods. The erosion and the corrosiveness of the president's agenda is really already harming U.S. exporters and business folks.
So, Henrietta, back in October, the IMF's managing director said uncertainty is the new normal. Now, of course, this is playing out again with all this talk of tariff.
As a European, I'm from Sweden. I think that maybe United States of America is underestimating how much of use Europe is for USA. We have really pushed the American agenda the latest 30, 40 years. We love American products. We love their movies, their drama, everything. And that is why we have really gobbled up. And we even have our pension funds in a lot of American companies and push the PE ratios, the metrics of valuation for American companies, and to higher levels. For example, in a similar company in Europe might have a PE ratio of 15, while it's in the United States of America will have 25, despite having the same type of earnings. And that is why I think we are very important. And if this situation continue and what can I say? The way people feel about the United States, the trust erodes, then these type of things might change. We in Europe might not use our pension funds to push the companies in the United States. We we can change other things also. And another thing that is important to acknowledge here, I think, is the way trade balance work. A lot of times politicians are talking about a negative trade balance, a positive trade balance, but in the case of United States of America and EU, they are both making use of each other in an amazing way, I think. And in EU, we are really, for example, 450 million consumers, and Europe as a whole, maybe 6 to 700 million. When we use a product like Google Search, Facebook Messenger, or ChatGPT, or any other product from the United States, they use our consumer data to improve the products, and that is worth billions or even trillions of dollars, and that is not even accounted for in terms of trade balance. So this is a very niche way of seeing the economy, and I think it's a lacking metric in many in my way of seeing things. So I hope that EU and USA can make sure that we don't just tariff too much of each other, because both of our now I say countries, but our organizations, or we need each other.
Tariffs. How does that impact businesses as they're looking at their own bottom line, they're looking at investments, as they're looking to maintain something?
Man, and we haven't even gotten the big one yet, which is the Supreme Court ruling on whether or not the president even has the authority to impose these tariffs. Hopefully that'll come tomorrow. The way that I think about this is that we are now embarking on Liberation Day 2.0. If you remember the disruption of April, the stock market tanked. Every business was thrown into a chaos scenario where they didn't know what tariff rates were coming on which products or when they would start. That's effectively what we're doing now again. Any trade deal we had with the UK, with the European Union, those are being ripped up and eroded at a breakneck pace. And now every business that exports to the European Union, to the United Kingdom, is going to have to deal with brand new tariff authorities, new rates, implementation expectations, and compliance with Customs and Border Patrol. It is exactly Liberation Day all over again now in 2026 form.
So, Congressman, as the Washington Post editorial board wrote about Trump's unhappiness with the EU's pushback over Greenland, quote, the French sent 15 mountain infantrymen. The Finns and Norwegians sent 2 officers apiece. The Brits sent 1 officer, and he was not James Bond. But Trump reacted angrily, and now Americans will pay higher prices for products like Legos and Ozempic, both made by Danish companies. What's the political risk in forcing Americans to grapple with higher prices over Greenland, which by a wide margin, they don't agree with the administration policy on this?
Well, the first point, Chris, is that it seems that an American agreement can be negated now on a presidential whim. So trust has been shattered between the U.S. and the European Union, and increasingly with NATO.
But I still don't think the EU really wants to have this trade bazooka, this ACI tool, anti-coercion tool implied, because it's such a strong tool, and just the start of it was worth over $100 billion. But if we do in fact force American companies out of Europe, that's a loss for everyone. And I mean, that can have truly remarkable ramifications for the market cap of, for example, NASDAQ, and also for the services provided in Europe. Obviously, we have the companies here because we love them, and we make use of the services like from the American companies, and I think they do from European companies also. So we want to be friends, and that is useful for the free world, and hopefully things can be straightened out a bit here, and we can see this as just an aggressive talks and get a deal done. We obviously won't see Greenland be American, but we hopefully don't see high tariffs either. Maybe we can see NATO and Europe's really ramp up the spending in the northern circle there, Greenland, and if that is what USA wants, or what maybe they don't want it, but that is what happens, they can at least say, oh, look what we did here. And I think at the moment Europe are really willing to spend a lot on military, and I think a lot of the countries has ramped up the military spending from like 1-2% of the BNP to 4 or 5%, and if they continue to do this in a couple of years, they soon will spend together more than United States of America, and they will really bring their part of the whole to NATO. So we will see. It's hard to know exactly what the administration of USA wants at the moment. So let's just follow the situation, and I think that is the most likely outcome, that the 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 spending of European countries, EU in this case, will ramp up even more to really secure and help the situation in Greenland, because I think maybe USA are lacking a bit in terms of economic muscles compared to where they was, because they have this what is it, $37 trillion debt that they have 120% plus of their GDP, and that could be something to think about.
So what the president has done too, he's taken a very unpopular policy decision, that of buying or annexing Greenland. The public is wildly opposed to this, while at the same time marrying that up with more tariffs, which are also not popular, and of course do hit people in their wallets. And as Henrietta pointed out, this relationship between the United States and Europe on an economic basis is so significant. It's over half a GDP between both of us.
And I do not think that everyone in the United States of America thinks that half of the GDP is directly connected to Europe. And when we hear the administration talk about Europe, it seems like they are nothing to USA. And because they are such a big part of the success of USA, probably the coercion tools they are using here is just an aggressive way of making a good deal or trade for USA with Europe, where they don't have to pay as much as they do. That is what I think, but we will see.
Relationship isn't just based on the trade of goods and services, but also the investment flows between the United States and Europe. I mean, how many jobs in the United States are dependent upon foreign direct investment from Europe? I can tell you, it's a huge number. But so right now, we are in a situation where the president is going to create a lot of problems, particularly for his own party, as inflation continues to be an issue. Then now we're engaging into more inflationary policy.
But I don't think what Chris is saying here is actually something that the administration would care about if inflation is higher now or this is negative at the moment for the economy of the USA, because there are just 3 years left on the Trump's term, and I think what they want to do is something long term here regarding Greenland. So the economy is just already bad, so just having it getting hit a bit more, it doesn't really matter for them in terms of their view of the situation. And maybe this is more a long term play here regarding Greenland. So that is why having an economic logical presentation and using that, I think, is not just an easy way to go. So if you're European, you need to just adjust how you think about the situation here. It's more about making a deal. If you have read The Art of the Deal from Donald Trump and how he makes deals, you need to be aggressive, you need to take what's yours, and you need to push, and that is how they are doing this at the moment. So you can't just use logic here. That is why a lot of people in Europe are frustrated, because they can't really understand what's going on. But this is not about logic and both countries as a whole losing on it, or the everyday man or woman losing businesses on this. It's more about geopolitics and power, etc., and making great deals. And if people try to just readjust there, I think it will help them maybe understand the situation better. And yeah.
You have more tariffs on top of the tariffs that have been previously agreed to. And now that the agreement that we had with Europe, or the framework of an agreement, is now in tatters.
So, Congressman, there was a new study that found that foreign exporters absorbed only about 4% of the tariff.
Yeah, and the rest of this presentation is about why tariffs is bad, etc. I talked a bit about in my last video about tariffs, so you can just watch that also. And yeah, obviously, this trade bazooka is partly about tariffs, but mostly it's also about getting access to European market. We have a lot of people that are living here, that are educated, that are using great American products, and if that market actually starts to force American companies out, that will be ramifications both for Europe and the EU, and also for the companies. They will lose a lot of their most important customers that really pays them a lot of money every day. Anyway, what do you think about the situation here, and what's next to come? Do you think the EU will activate the trade bazooka, or will we find some type of deal here? What's going on in Greenland, and where will we be in 3 months? Anyway, thank you for tuning in here, and I see you again.